Network on Zingo TV, channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download the app, make sure you rate and leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. Now joining me on CFL Talk, as usual, is one, the only David Morassutti of Sportsnet. David, an interesting situation has come up. We can talk about it now, might as well, because I think it's an interesting story. We have I'm going to presume it's a fan of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, some lady named Laura Stewart. Is that the name?
Laura Stewart.
Yeah. She posted that she wants to understand why the Argos would use help in causing the fans to make things difficult for the Ticats. I was at the game. I sat in the seats. I wasn't looking for this issue, but I suspect I might have been able to tell the issue existed. I didn't hear anything like that. I do know that we have very few fans at BMO for the Argo games. That's something we're all quite well aware of. But I also am well aware of the fact that the few fans that are there at the stadium, in fact, they do make a lot of noise. These are people who come to the game knowing full well that they're kind of a unique breed. People in Toronto who are willing to go to an Argo game.
Yeah, and the tweet here is she's saying she was sitting in a near empty section at BMO, and she said it was louder than any stadium she's been to.
Thank you.
Including the Blue Bomber Stadium, which we know is pretty loud. So this is obviously a lot of like speculative stuff too, because I sit in the press box, right? I don't sit
Right.
in the stands. We even had the windows closed.
Yes, that's the other point I was going to make too. That's correct.
So whether there was piped in crowd noise or not, I wouldn't be able to tell. I mean, we could hear a noise, right? We can hear, especially I would say the touchdown and the blocked punt touchdown were loud, right?
Right.
And so is that partly due to piped in crowd noise? I can't say for sure, right? Like we don't really know. I mean, it very well could be, but this is also we can't assume anything because this is something that a team can get in trouble for, right?
Yeah, it's not legal.
Right? You're not allowed to just pipe in crowd noise. You can get fined. I think it's a fine if you're caught doing it. And so and like you hear it on, and even on the TSN broadcast, like I can't, it's hard to tell as well with the crowd noise. BMO Field is a very unique design with the way that it's done, in that you can hear a lot of noise because it's metal stands. So when fans are, stomping on them, it doesn't matter if there's a few fans. It does make a lot of noise. And I always say to people that, yeah, the Argos don't get a lot of fans, but the fans they do have there, they're loud. Those are really devoted fans. So they're not just this is not like going to a Leaf game where some of the, like, they're just, people are just there for, in a way, kind of like a pleasureful evening out, right? This, like, Argos fans are going there, they're gonna do their best to make noise. And like with a team like Hamilton there with their fans, we heard the Oski Wee Wee chants. I don't know if you did, Frank.
Yes.
Argos fans are going to take that a little personally, and they're going to try to be a little bit louder. But again, I can't say for sure because I've never really sat in the stands during action. Maybe next game I'll sit there and listen. But I think
I do, David. I go down every game. I go and sit with some friends and say hello, and also because I enjoy being in the stands, listening to. I'm looking. By the way, I'm looking for an article, a YouTube video that was basically the press conference. uh, when the MLSC, 2/3 of MLSC, TSN, and Tannenbaum took over the Argos, and they were going to play in BMO. And I asked a question, and I'm interrupting myself, but I have to. I asked the question about my understanding was the design of BMO was made to make the sound captured at the roof and brought back down to help make things easier for the home team. In other words, to harass the visiting team. So I sit in the stands because I like the way it sounds in there. It is loud, and when you consider all the empty seats, I even hate saying it, but see, even with all the empty seats, it's pretty loud there. And Argo fans, I think, per capita, are louder than any fans in the Canadian Football League. It's like a personal responsibility that they have. They got to make up for everybody that isn't there. The proof I have is when I went to Nova Scotia and went to the game where Saskatchewan and the Toronto Argonauts, Saskatchewan and Toronto were playing a game, and people swore up and down that there were far more Rider fans than there were Argo fans. Yet the noise the Argo fans made, the fewer fans that they were, if you agree with the people who suggested that. What I know is that the Argo fans were as louder than the Rider fans. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm in the stands. They're very loud. I don't know for a fact, and I'm not hiding the fact that there was piped in sound.
Yeah, I will say this. Everyone comments on how the Bell Center in Montreal is the best place to go and watch a hockey game. The reason why it is because it was built in that the crowd is on top of the action. So everything, all of the sound kind of goes over the rink, and you really hear the atmosphere. You compare that to Scotiabank Arena. Now, I've been to Scotiabank Arena where there's been decent crowds, but most of the time, it's the crowd is further back. They're kind of pushed back a bit, and so I feel like that's a situation there where you know the stadium's aesthetics also plays a big part in how sound is perceived, right? Hamilton gets loud. We know that. You've been there. We both been there for a
Yeah,
great.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Um, I haven't ventured to too many CFL stadiums. You've done far more than I have, so you can speak to it more than I can. Um, but yeah, this is just, and I don't think Laura is she's making it a point, but is the CFL all of a sudden going to start investigating it? I doubt it. The only way that the CFL is going to investigate is if the other team complains about it, right? If the team mentions, like, if the Tiger Cats go to the CFL and say, "Hey, if you think they're piping in crowd noise here to give themselves an advantage," CFL will then look into it, right? Other than that, like, and even she says she doesn't expect the CFL to start investigating just because she tweeted something out.
Yeah, but does she does she have a reason to to suggest such a thing? Here it is. Here it is. Okay, Eduardo, I'm gonna put a link in there, and we have time for a few more questions. Okay, I found it. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I found it, and I believe I asked that very question the first day the Argos went into BMO. It was a question I asked at the press conference. But I'll send him the link. Continue what you're saying, David. I just got to figure out how to send Eduardo the link.
It'd be easier if you just shared your screen.
You want, and the audio will come through too.
Yeah, it should.
Oh, you know what? I can send it to Eduardo. It's all good.
Okay.
I just you go ahead.
Yeah, like she's insinuating something, but she's not gonna all of a sudden ask the CFL to punish the Argos for it, because again, we're asking to take the word of a fan who, at the same time, when the crowd started getting loud, was when the Tiger Cats weren't exactly playing well. I'm not insinuating that that's the reason why she tweeted it, but she even went on to say a little bit later that, like, I'm not looking for to start. She's not going to start a whole upheaval thing here and ask for
Well, it ain't right. If the Argos did that, it ain't right, and they should pay the price. But what I don't like is she's saying I think it's that way, and then all of a sudden, it's like, all right, do you have any proof about that? Because in a way, that's a kind of a form of slander. You're basically accusing somebody of cheating, and you're not offering any proof. That's the part I don't like. Basically, she's saying it seemed pretty empty in there, and yet it seemed pretty loud. So you're saying that there's no possibility that a smaller group of people will be louder than a bigger group of people. Here's what I'll say, and I can say it without exaggerating. Argo fans, 1 for 1, 2 for 2, 100 for 100, 5,000 for 5,000 are much louder than Leaf fans if it isn't the playoffs. Well, you don't have to put it on now, Eduardo, but if you want, but go ahead, put it on. This is the press conference. The Argos sold to Bell and Tannenbaum. This is when they took over, and because of that sale, go ahead and play it, Eduardo. Because of that sale, they brought the team to BMO.
I think we're having a little.
Oh, it's echoing. It looks like we're in the barber's chair. Can you say infinity
It
and
looks,
beyond?
it looks like you're having some technical difficulties, but I get what you're saying there, Frank. And you know what? Maybe we can segue it to another issue with noise that we were hearing this week at the Montreal Alouettes game and the air horn.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. The one with the pump.
Yeah,
They're
I'll,
illegal at BMO. They're illegal at BMO.
yeah. So that's the thing, right? People are saying, isn't it illegal to have an air horn at a CFL game? And the best part is that the Alouettes have been taking this. They've been running with it, right, and trying to get a lot of social media reaction out of it. Perfectly done. But yeah, for those who don't know, like during the Alouettes game, there have been basically the whole game. You're hearing complaints on social media that the air horns were very, let's just say, annoying during the broadcast. A lot of people said they couldn't listen to the game because all they hear was air horns. Part of that also, folks, has to do with TSN's mics on the field. They can kind of control that a little bit, but at the same time, air horns, there is a specific pitch for a reason, right? They're meant to get attention. So they said today, we're taking the air horn complaints very seriously from last week's game. If you feel they should be banned from our stadium, please reply to this tweet. Sincerely yours, the Montreal Alouettes. And the funny thing they did is they made it so that nobody could reply to the tweets.
Okay, I think I don't know. I think I'm making it work. What button should I hit now, David?
Well, X out of the share. You don't need to get the share. So X out of that.
Oh, okay.
Play the video.
And that's what I do, just like that?
Yeah.
Immediately after, we'll just take a second to set up for a photo here on the stage with all 5
Oh,
participants, and then we're going to head outside for a photo op.
oh, I have to have it up?
Welcome
Yeah.
sign up by the field side there, and we'll do scrums out there as well.
Candid Frank, fancaster, means I'm a fan as much as I am a broadcaster.
Yes.
The experience, I'll probably go back to Tim Lewicki again. The experience of being irritating to the opposition. That roof that you'll be putting on, you've talked about it, and how helpful will that be in ensuring that Braley's team doesn't have a nice night? My other team.
His other team, yeah.
BC Lions.
Well, part of the deal is David's agreed to lose all the games to the Argonauts, so that was very kind of Vancouver. Certainly, whether it be the TFC and their fans, and now certainly the Argos and the CFL, that roof is going to be something that is unique. It not only protects 100% of the seats, but it also gives us now a noise opportunity that is unlike probably anything in the CFL and maybe the best stadium in Major League Soccer. So when Bob Hunter and his team were designing this, we did pay a lot of attention. And again, I'll say this to the TFC fans as well. Larry's correct. There are no compromises. We didn't have to chintz. We didn't ultimately have to make sacrifices on behalf of either of these two teams to make this work. The stadium is going to be one of the best stadiums in Major League Soccer. We've already proven that even before the roof comes. And if you look at the pitch today, that's what it will look like 3 years from now, 5 years from now. And this ownership group has put in literally tens of millions of dollars to make this stadium unique for the CFL and to make the stadium unique for MLS. Our fans for TFC and our new Argos fans are going to enjoy the greatest experiences in both leagues, and we can make that work here. Very similar to what we see with the Raptors and the Leafs.
That's right.
So, it's a unique situation here. It's
higher Wolfpack signage
to visit if you're a visiting team. And I think in particular for the Argo fans, they're going to enjoy being outside but being protected from the weather.
Randy Kissinger, I was built for this.
Oh, hi, Kurt Stretchky and John Starr. Three-part question a little bit.
Okay, so now I can close that. I shrink that.
And
Okay, Eduardo, you can. So how do I unshare the screen?
So go back down to share to the
And
there you go. You're
okay, thanks, Eduardo. So what I did really, I didn't plan on showing that video. It's a friend of mine, Randy Kissinger. That's whose voice you heard. He used to handle all the signage and help protect the players here at Skydome, then later at Tim Hortons. He has since not doing that anymore for either of the teams. A great guy, a wonderful guy, and he recorded that and he posted it and he tagged me on it. And I'm going, okay, thank you, because I didn't think of recording that press conference. And he played the part where I asked the question. So when I say that I know that roof was created for the purpose of being heard, I asked the question back when the Argos it's now 2018, I guess, or
That
was it
was-
2016?
that's when Bell and Tannenbaum bought them.
Yes,
So
not MLSC, just Bell and Tannenbaum. They bought it first. I think it might have been 2015, actually.
well, they bought them in 2015, but 2016 was the move to BMO Field.
There you go. So that was 2016 before the season started. So I knew about the stadium, being a big sports fan, and also because I knew about Seattle and I understood about the roof and capturing the sound and making it better for the fans to impact the opposition, which is what all football fans want to do. That's what they try to do. They want to impact on the game, and that roof helps them impact on the game. So, Frank, thanks for finding that while you're on the air. I really appreciate it. You're welcome, Frank. It was fun trying to do it. Yeah, so your opinion. So you heard that press conference. You know that Lewicki mentioned that was the intention of that roof. So that might have something to do with it.
Yeah, no, I think look, people are going to have their opinions regardless, right? I mean, I've seen the conversations about it after the fact. You have to also look at the two sides that are going to be defending the team, right? One defending the team, one trying to go after the team too. But I've said it before that, even though there's not a lot of fans there, it remains a pretty decent crowd, and the players have made it
A rowdy crowd
that they can hear the fans, even though there's not many. And McLeod Bethel Thompson said that too after the game. He's like, might not be a lot of fans, but we hear them.
We'll hear that. We'll hear that from him. We did the press conference after the game. We'll save that for you Argo fans. You're going to have to hang in there. We've actually added an extra hour to the show tonight, so we're going to really bore you to death tonight. So be armed and ready to be bored. And we're going to, after the first hour, in the second hour, we'll play that stuff and we'll talk specifically about the Argos. This issue came up. Is it possible, there was a head coach and a Hockey Night in Canada broadcaster known as Sour Grapes. But anyway, that's how Don Cherry got his name, because he always used to whine and complain and, used to always say things, and people called him Sour Grapes. And that's where he kept the name Grapes. So do you think this might have something to do with Sour Grapes on the Ticats part? They don't get to say the Argos suck, and that must really hurt, to know that they actually suck more than the Toronto Argonauts. Must really hurt Ticat fans that want to say that, and they can't, because when they say it, they're looking in the mirror. And there might be a little bitterness because, quite frankly, the Ticats and the Ticat fans have been spoiled the past couple of years with the great team that they've had. And I'll qualify and finish this statement by saying this. I have said repeatedly that this Ticat team is better than they've shown.
Yeah, no, for sure. You know, there's still a team that's gone to back Grey Cups. Not me. There's only one other team that can be able to say that in the last few years, right? You know,
Yep, but they won
they
both. There's a little difference.
yeah,
Highlight the difference. They went twice too, but one.
exactly. And Calgary did it too, right? So
Absolutely.
I think when you're a team like with like Hamilton, right? That's that fan base, that city just wants to win, right? They've had, you know, yeah, there's satisfaction to beating the Argos, just like any other sports rival. Will, you know what? You can have the worst season ever. You could be, the Argos could have been like, Hamilton could have been, well, Hamilton was what, 2-5 going into that game, or 2-4. All they cared about, some of those fans cared about was being the Argos. They could lose the rest of the other games, but if they beat the Argos, that makes them just a little bit happier.
And remember, there's a trophy that they play for every year.
Yep, the Ballard Cup.
He owned the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Hamilton Tiger Cats at the same time. The Boston Bruins put up the Argo emblem on the bench when they came to visit Toronto one day. There's a history there, and there's a history also with Cat fans. They haven't won a Grey Cup this century, and they feel it. It feels like 100 years for them. And I have a lot. I think I can say I have a lot of Cat fans, and I understand their pain and suffering. I also understand the fans that resent the fact that Toronto's won the Grey Cup. But more importantly, they're a fan base that have been, taken care of so well by caretaker Bob, the owner of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. He brought this team back from, some pretty hard times, and I think Cat fans have to remember that they're a great bunch of fans enjoying a really good team that right now is going through a tough time. And I think the ones that are calmer and think more uh, in the future are thinking, okay, if we're going to have a bad year, better this one than next year. If I need explain, you're not paying attention.
Yeah, no, it's definitely adding. There's always going to be spice added to that rivalry. That's for sure.
Totally. On Friday, the Argos go back there, and I guess the Cat fans are going to get a chance to show that they really know how to do it. But I want to mention another thing. When we start, the old saying, people who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. I was sitting in the middle section. I'm sorry if I don't know the number, about the 45-yard line between the Cats and Argos, but more on the Cat side. And I saw the former coach of the Montreal Alouettes with a set of headsets on, running back and forth and instructing players. He's supposed to be a consultant, and the league has given approval for what Hamilton's doing. On the other hand, another guy who was a consultant for them last year is now a consultant for the Argos this year. His name's Jim Barker. You may know him. He's a consultant as well. He doesn't talk to the players. Somebody might come over and ask him a question. He doesn't wear a set of headsets. Can he wear a set of headsets too?
I don't know.
Players and instruct them every time they come off the field or before they're coming on the field.
Honestly, I don't know what the exact rule is behind that. I didn't really notice Kahari Jones on the sidelines. Like
I did.
I mean, you were right down there, right?
I was like about 40 feet from him.
So like that definitely makes it easier for you to see that. And I don't remember seeing it on the broadcast either. But
Well, they don't normally show the sidelines, right?
Well, the thing is
I'm talking about in front of the bench where the players are sitting down, where the quarterback has the tablet in his hand, where the receivers and the quarterback have a conversation, where the defensive line and offensive line sit when play is going on and they're not involved. That's right.
Because at BMO Field, everything's set up on that west side.
Absolutely.
I don't think I've ever seen TSN have a camera on that other side. Ever.
They have a close up of our buddy the sideline reporter,
mm-hmm.
right? or whoever happens to be the sideline reporter. They'll have a close up there. They'll show the crowd behind, because they have their camera that's on the golf cart that runs back and forth that shows the crowd. They might show what's going on the bench up close when a good play happens and a player's bragging and giving his 2 cents to mom and dad and his kids, wife, and everybody that he's saying, see what I did was awesome. Yay, the great for me. Those things. But we don't have a steady shot of behind the sidelines in front of the benches. So
Like
if you're
they'll have
sitting there,
TSM will do some side angles because
right,
they have a camera in the middle, mainly when Matthew Shinetti's doing his TV or
yes,
whoever the
that's-
sideline reporter there. But yeah, you generally don't see a lot of sideline shots, especially at
No.
Beacon Field.
but I can assure you, for the part of the game that I was down there, Khari Jones had the headset on and he was talking to the players and having a nice conversation with them, giving them instructions. He was very, very, very excited and letting the guys know it wasn't, one of your passive situations. It was like a coach. He was motivating the players. Now, am I saying that what they did was illegal? The league says it isn't. The league says he can wear a headset. But I thought when I read the article, he could wear the headset up in the coach's booth.
Yeah.
Not on the field. He was wearing the headset on the field. So, I mean, the point I'm trying to make is that if we're going to start accusing teams of doing stuff, let's have some proof. The Toronto Argonauts won the game. I think that's the biggest issue that Hamilton will have. That's the biggest issue some Hamilton fans will have. And everybody has their own interpretation of what they see. Do we know what's right, what's wrong? We hope to have cooler heads and people who don't have a bias and or are looking at it in a more fair and objective way as opposed to being subjective. So Laura, what did I say her name was? Stewart?
Yeah.
She's obviously a Cat fan, and she's more than entitled to ask a question, but she didn't prove the question. She only accused the Argos of something. She didn't prove that they did anything like that. And I'm not a big fan of that kind of stuff. Like I said, I saw Khari Jones wearing a headset, going back and forth, talking to players. Is that proof?
Mm-hmm.
Good question, right? So let's make a big deal about it. Sure, I'll defend. I'll also mention that I was very disappointed last year, and I am a long-standing Argo lifer. I have the jacket to prove it. And at the game, something that happened that I found disconcerting, and I don't know, I don't understand it, but it happened. I went down there, and the Argo fans down there, they're called Argo lifers, John Granger, uh, and the rest of them. Gary Grube, in fact, you may know him, does a lacrosse show with me. The stadium went down and took away their flags. They wouldn't let them use their flags that day because they were playing the Ticats, and they're not allowed to use the flags when they're playing against the Ticats. Needless to say, the Argo fans were a little disappointed. It's their home turf, and they weren't given any advance warning that their flags they wouldn't be able to use them. So they were taken, tagged, and then have to be picked up later. So I guess what we're talking about here and what I've given an example of, and almost sounds like I'm kind of getting defensive on behalf of the Argos and the Argo fans, is because that's how intense this rivalry is between the Ticats and the Argos. So you can get caught up in the swell of excitement, right? And I just might have.
I think you also mentioned the last time two teams played each other, your friends also had a very unfortunate experience because their flags were taken from them, weren't they?
And stomped on, ripped up too. The day that the game that, well, anyway, yeah,
I think you know what, like I understand where where the stadium's coming about with flags, but I mean if they've been allowed in the past and then all of a sudden they're taking them away, I'm not a fan of that. But I also know that like there should be a section where like TFC does. It's in the back of the end zone, and it says if you sit here, be aware there are going to be flags. There are going to be fans with flags. I know that it's a great spot that I visited your friends a couple of times down there. It's a
Yeah, we
great spot,
we were on the field. Remember, we walked to that section.
right? Um, I like the flags, right? You know, you look at any the only sporting event where you don't really see flags is like in the indoor ones, but outdoor ones, it's nice to see the flags, right? It's fans. I can get why the stadium wouldn't allow it. But yeah, I think if it's been allowed before and then all of a sudden it's being taken away, it's a little unfair.
Yeah, and there are cameras at the stadium for security purposes. If anybody does something bad, they could prove it if they want to pursue it. So it's a question of whether the stadium wants to pursue it or not. At the end of the day, what really matters here is that fans and players need to be separated completely. In other words, there should be no contact between a player and a player and a fan's whatever. In other words, a fan can't touch a player with they themselves, their hands, or any object like a flag. If that's what they did, and they're not allowed to bring the flags in, I'm saying that's not the case as far as I know. The yelling and the baiting by fans is something that happens league wide. The one thing that I'll say on a couple of issues, just to do some housekeeping here for people who may not know, part of the reason why the Argo Lifers were in that section is because they chose to be there. Originally, the Argos, the powers that be at the time, weren't MLSC. They didn't want them to sit there. They wanted them to sit at the end where you're talking about. That's why I'm mentioning this, because that was the preference of where they wanted them. They wanted them there. But the Argos and the Argo fans, of which I was one, bought tickets there specifically to cheer for the Argos and to give, the Ticats or any other team that came there a hard time, yelling at them and whatever, and basically making sure they could hear the group, right?
Yeah.
But again, I don't agree with any kind of contact. I don't agree with any kind of abusive language. I don't agree with, just basically, I'll put it simply, unsporting stuff. I consider the Hamilton Tiger Cat fans saying "you suck" as not something that I should get upset about. So now that we've set that bar, right, where they can say the Argos suck or Argo fans suck, that gives the Argo fans the right too to say things that may not be polite or kind, right? But it's verbal. It's verbal and not abusive, because saying Argos suck could be considered by some abusive, but it's not. It's basically, it's been said so long it's acceptable. I mean, it might become a victim of the old Edmonton name, the old, Washington NFL team's name, when people get a little sensitive and go, maybe that's not such a good idea and we shouldn't let the Ticat fans say that terrible kind of stuff. But until that happens, it's acceptable behavior that football fans try the best they can to distract the opposition.
Yeah, I mean, and here I'll say this with this game, this is the first of 4 games that these teams are playing over the next five game span. These teams are going to get very sick of each other on the field, and fans are going to get very sick of each other off the field as well. Very much like that's. We already know that these two teams and these fans really hate each other. The way that the schedule was done at time, I wasn't a fan of it. Now, really thinking about it, I really do not like this.
It didn't get any better. My understanding is it had to do with scheduling, so it wasn't something that they wanted to do this way. It was scheduling. Um, at the end of the day, the one thing that you get to do as a fan is you get to go through to go through the adventure that is a season, and every season offers a different kind of flavor. And this one here, after so many years of the Canadian Football League and of course the Toronto Argos and the Hamilton Tiger Cats, not many can remember ever the Ticats and the Argos playing 4 out of 5 games, 4 games out of 5 weeks in succession and play each other 4 times. This is a first. It is a remember when moment. It'll be a remember when moment in down the road. People remember these games, and I think they'll remember all 4 for different reasons.
Yeah, no,
And
trying to forget them too.
yeah, well, there's that too, of course. There's always that. But all I can say is that I always look forward to, as I've admitted here, I've said, in that news story of 2016, pointed out that I considered myself a fan caster. It was a name that I invented because I was a fan and a sportscaster, a combination of the two. And I feel it was very important for me at the time as a fan that I needed to help bring the word out about the Argos, which is why I started doing this. So for someone who thinks that I do this and I'm a fan, it's true. I do this and I'm a fan. But when I do this, and nobody can ever say ever, because it's one of my major objectives and it's my North Star, is I will never be biased when I have this microphone. I will try to be fair all the time. When I'm sitting with my friends, they get upset with me because I don't cheer like I used to. And the truth is, it's because of what I do now. That doesn't mean I don't pull for the Argos as a fan. And the biggest reason I pull for the Argos, and I think there's a lot of people out there that'll understand this, because they need me, because there aren't many of us. And that's why I did this. That's why I started doing this. And I've come to grow and love the CFL as a league and all the teams. And my friends in Saskatchewan know how I feel about them. My visit to Nova Scotia was a wonderful experience. The cities that I've gone to, and Hamilton fans know that I'm friends with them too. But I guess when they see me, they still see the Argo fan, the horn, and all that stuff. But sorry, it's history. That's who I am and who I was and who I will always be. I will be a CFL fan because I love the game. I love the players. I think the players are awesome. And I think the game is played. Geez, this is turning really ugly now. This game is a Canadian game. I know I sound like a commercial now, and I'm feeling really self-conscious about it. But there's no other league that has. Since I started saying this, it's changed because of the popularity of soccer. But before soccer became very popular, and even basketball, it's the one league that goes, across Canada, and every major city has a team, and it's always a Canadian that wins the championship, a Canadian city. I know that there was a break in that for a little while, but that's what makes me love this game so much. It's an opportunity for us Canadians to get together, and the Grey Cup proves it over and over again. So I'm sorry about the tirade or the rambling, but it all is because this game is awesome, and I'm hoping, it gets better.
I say, you want to start talking about the games?
No, not really.
Frank doesn't want to talk games.
Actually, I do want to talk about one more thing. Nathan Rourke. About him, not the game he played. We know that his team devastated the opposition, the Edmonton Elks. And the idea that the better this kid plays, David, the more chance there is that he won't be here after 2 years.
Yeah, that's something that really this week. Here's the thing. You know what? Like, we're going to say this about Nathan Rourke, and then he's going to go and play Calgary. And I don't think he's going to put up the 400. Now, he might prove me wrong, but I don't think he's going to put up the 477 yards or whatever he put up against Edmonton. I tend to.
And a half.
Right? He's had really good performances this season. Don't get me wrong. I think he should get a chance to see if he can make it in the NFL because selfishly, would you like to keep him in the CFL? Absolutely. But the other side of me also understands the opportunities in the NFL far exceed the CFL for the most part. There's nothing really.
From his perspective. You're talking now from his perspective.
Right.
Which we unselfishly have to allow him.
Yes, exactly. Now, here's the thing. He's a national player. National rookies have a 3-year deal, not a 2-year deal.
Oh, okay.
BC could decide, I think, this offseason to look into getting him signed to an extension.
Right.
The question here I have is, do you have to be careful? Because we have seen what happens when a team decides, all right, let's open up the checkbook for the quarterback.
Okay.
Then you look at the rest of the roster and you're like, something's got to give.
Mm,
It
I like
always
where you're going with this. I like where you're going with this. You're giving BC fans, they're going to start making calls here going, somebody scalp that guy.
look.
Somebody
Let's
tackle
play
him.
him.
Don't let him finish this story.
Ryan Burnham. There are 3 top tier receivers in this league. You sign Nathan Rourke to a pretty decent payday, I guarantee one of them isn't coming back. Unless they take less to play there, which for their personal sake too, you get a chance to make the money, you have to do it. I see how short the career span is in the CFL, and I will never blame a player for trying to maximize on his payday. I will never blame a player for that.
I got
You want to try to set records for how much you make in a season? Go right ahead.
a question for you.
Yep.
It's only a question, and you carry on.
Okay.
Would you consider Nathan Rourke the second best quarterback in the Canadian Football League since the start of this season?
Absolutely. I couldn't even argue that right now he's the best.
Okay, but best or second best?
He's top 2.
What do you want to bet that he doesn't earn any more than any of the other 8 starters in the league? And you could throw Mazzoli in there too.
I can bet that.
So the point you're trying to make is very simple. The point you're trying to make is very simple. I'm trying to support it by asking that question, that there's very little cap space used up on the best or second best quarterback in the league, and you're paying him rookie money. And what can you do with the money that you're not spending on the second best or best quarterback? You mentioned three receivers. That's what you worry about if you're a BC fan, because he signs a contract. The moment he signs that contract, it's not going to be a rookie contract. It's going to be top dollar, somewhere around $500,000. And that's 10% of your salary cap.
And I think that, you look at what other guys are being paid, it's
a little less. But
some are less, some are more. I will say this. You look at the Nathan Rourke stats. His completion percentage is 81.3.
It showed it on the screen.
No other
very best
back is above 70. McLeod Thompson is 70.4.
Ricky Ray in Toronto, when he was at his best, less than that. I think it was 71. I thought I saw on the screen, something like that.
What it's not just the accuracy. It's not just the accuracy of the quarterback of what he does. It's the touch. He's throwing touchdowns. He is finding his receivers in the end zone. He's putting up scores. And it's the ability to run. Not just scramble, but take off with the ball. He is the type of quarterback that a lot of CFL teams need. And I think a lot of teams are going to start prioritizing that type of player. Because the thing about that, and someone say, well, look at what happened with Cody Fajardo. He's a guy that likes to run a lot. Now he can barely run because his knee's in bad shape. But Nathan Rourke has the other skills down pat. He is a good passer. He is an accurate passer. So if that's all his game is going to be, he's fine with that.
He's a better passer. He's a better passer than Cody Fajardo. Cody Fajardo is a better passer because he can run. Nathan Rourke can run because he's such a great passer. I don't know if I'm differentiating there appropriately. What the point I'm trying to make is that Fajardo has to run to establish his ability to pass. Nathan Rourke does not have to run to establish his pass. He'll run when the opportunity arises, and he has a very good chance of being safe. We saw Carter give him a little shoulder when he crossed the goal line 3 yards in. Not a very nice move, by the way, but the rookie gave him he gave him a little bit of a look and a couple of words. I don't know what the words were. I'm not a mouth, I can't read lips, so I don't know what he said to him, but I'm sure it wasn't something like, going for dinner later. It was probably something else. Yeah, he is a marvel. No one, not even, I don't think the loyalist of Lions fans is going to deny him if he gets a chance to go to the NFL. What the Lion fans will hope is that he wins them a Grey Cup before he goes.
That's it, right? That's the thing, right? If he wins in the Grey Cup and goes, it's you'll take that. Can I bring up another stat here?
Go ahead.
In 2008, threw for 5,600 yards, 26 touchdowns, 17 interceptions. He early in his career, Ricky Ray threw quite a bit of interceptions.
Absolutely, that's why he went from Edmonton to Toronto.
He had 100. He had 101.8 QB rating, efficiency rating, which is pretty good. Anthony Calvillo was better at 107. But do you want to know the important thing about Ricky Ray? His completion percentage, 69.8%, so pretty much 70%.
Right.
I don't think we have seen a quarterback as accurate than
Collaros.
Rourke.
Collaros is pretty good.
I'm just looking here, like I'm just looking through the years here. Like, okay, Collaros, let's say 20. The thing is, Collaros, we can't do this the last Collaros 78 points. Oh, but that's only one. He didn't play a lot in 2019, right? Because let's do 2021. Last year, Collaros, he was at 70.2.
Yeah.
We have not seen a quarterback this efficient ever. Sorry, not ever, because I guarantee somebody in the stats can find it.
But it goes to your point. You're supporting your point. Is that part of the reason why he can be so efficient is that he can have such a great group of receivers to toss to. Again, his salary helps that happen.
No, for sure. And I think that's what they were happy with. I hate to say it, but I think they were kind of happy that Michael Riley retired, because not having to bring him back was easily I think a blessing for them. Imagine if he says he wanted to stay and he wanted to continue playing. Where would Nathan Rourke be right now?
Absolutely. Eduardo, our producer, posted here. He said, a friend watching the show in Pittsburgh just asked me about a rumor that Collaros' agent has been approached by the Steelers. That's the general area that this kid Collaros comes from. And, so from Ohio.
Here's the thing with Zach. I know that I know way back, he did have some NFL interest, but here's the problem with Zach Collaros, and a lot of his age.
Okay.
Typically, NFL teams are going to look for a guy with a little bit younger.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think Zach Collaros should get a chance in the NFL? Absolutely. If you look at the way he's performed lately, there's a case to be made.
Big kid.
But NFL teams, if they're going to go and get a guy, they're going to get a guy that's a little bit younger, a little more, has a bit more
upside.
And you have to realize this: the NFL game is a lot faster than the CFL game. Decisions have to be
bigger,
quick. And Zach Collaros is only, I don't know,
5'8", 5'9".
I think he's 6 feet.
Is he 6 feet?
I think he's 6 feet. Yeah, CFL has him listed as 6'1", 218 pounds. That's a decent size. But if I go to, I have to look and see what an NFL quarterback Generally,
Deshaun Watson. How tall is he?
no, it's not. Okay, Mitchell Trubisky, who right now is one of the
Oh, he's a big guy.
6'2", 220 pounds, so that's pretty close. The quarterback that they drafted this year, Kenny Pickett, for their first round pick for the Steelers, 6'3", 220 pounds. So Collaros isn't too far off. I know Josh Allen is like the prototypical size.
Oh, Josh Allen's a big boy.
He's a prototypical size for a quarterback because of his height and his size.
And his size and his running ability.
He's 6'5", 237 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You need to have a little bit of meat on your bones because you're gonna have to be able to deal with more physical and quick and tougher defensive lines in the
Well, what's his biggest asset is that he can break tackles, and
not
it's because of his size.
he finds ways to extend plays and wait for his receivers to get open. Unfortunately, in the NFL, the defensive players I think are a little more athletic in that you scramble outside, you're not getting a lot of time to make that throw. And I kind of think the defensive backs are a bit better in the NFL, in that you're going to have to hit the guy in an impossible spot. And look, it's also bringing the fact that the hash marks are different, the field's wider, and the end zone's bigger. Like a CFL player only needs to get 1 foot down. NFL, it's 2.
And they only have 10 yards.
But these are also guys who have played in this style before. It's not like Zach Collaros is going to something that's, you know, I think I would like to see Zach Collaros do the best he can get. If he was approached by the NFL, he should take it, right? He's accomplished what he's needed to accomplish in the CFL. Go and get an NFL opportunity, you try to take it. Same with Nathan Rourke. I have no problem with that. It sucks to lose a great player, but it also puts a little more credibility to the league when one of your best players succeeds.
Oh, well, I'd like him to stick around. And I asked the question, and this is just something, a pea rolling around in my head. What could we do? The Canadian Football League, the fans, everything. What could we do to keep him longer here in Canada and get him back sooner? At the end of the day, my point is very simple. To have a Canadian quarterback that plays as good as him, he is a unicorn. He is the unicorn when it comes to the Canadian Football League. You know, we sat there, folks, and I don't mind admitting it. We sat there and spoke to the GM, the coach in BC, and we said, so you're going to go with 2 Canadian quarterbacks? You don't have anybody else in mind? There's nobody that you want to get? No, we're happy with this guy. And they said it, and I'd love to play it back. I don't think I have a recording of it. I'd love to see it again, and because I believe, I'm not misleading anyone by saying it was a real serious, it was a serious, no, we think we got the quarterback. Remember, David, you and I were going, boy, 2 Canadian quarterbacks. This team's going with 2 Canadian quarterbacks. I mean, one is amazing. It's awesome. But 2? And they really believe this guy's a number 1 quarterback? And, the head coach of the BC Lions is a CFL guy. In fact, he's a CFL guy born of a CFL guy. So, it's not like he doesn't have a clue about the Canadian Football League, because he does. Well, it turns out that Frank's hesitation was unfounded. I had no idea. I was caught by total surprise at how good he was, and I don't even have an excuse, because when he played his first game this year, he had already played 5 the year before. I think it's 5, right? He played last year with Riley before Riley retired. I think he played 5.
Yeah, this isn't, he's a rookie
I
starter.
didn't know better, but whatever he did in the off season, good Lord. But he did. And how he's played since. Amazing.
Well, and it's been made known to me that his preparation, the amount of work he's put in, unlike any, like, it's day and night in terms of, what he was like last year to this year. He's put in so much preparation, so much time,
Commitment. Yep.
and that's what you need. That's what you need to do, right? Now, not every player has that ability. In the off season for some of these guys, it's I gotta go make money to support my family, right? I have to now. A lot of players now have been doing camps, so I think McLeod Bethel Thompson had one in Georgia. Uh, Nick Arbuckle had one in California. Like, they're starting now to take it a little more, like, help each other out so that they can elevate each other and the product.
Stay on Nathan Rourke. This is a kid who doesn't plan on having a girlfriend or getting married anytime soon because he has a career that he wants to explore. This is a guy whose commitment to the game is unheard of. This is a guy who isn't on the internet. He's not listening to what people are saying about him. His whole life begins and ends, David, on the field and in that quarterback room. That's where it begins and ends. This guy's 100% committed. This is why the coaching staff with BC, the GM, everybody there in BC has so much faith in him, because this kid wants to be the best he can be, and there is not going to be a single tiny little distraction.
Very easily. Very easily, yeah, for sure. It. I think I think the good thing is that nobody is trying to write off Nathan Rourke as a fluke. I think that's the important thing.
Not
Right.
yet. Not yet. He hasn't hit the skids yet. Will he hit the skids, folks? I'm not saying he's going to, so don't stop throwing stuff at me. I think we'll see. He handles adversity very well. We haven't seen it in a stretch of games, but we've seen it in a stretch during a game, right? We've seen him win games that were really getting away from him, right? We've seen that. We haven't seen him go into any kind of losing streak with his team. But then again, a lot of great players don't do that. That's what great players do. They find a way to win consistently. That doesn't mean they can't lose, but they're what, 7-1 now? Or 6-1? Have a look, Frank. Find out.
What, the Lions?
They're 6-1.
They're 6-1. The only loss they've had is to Winnipeg.
Yeah, I wasn't sure it was 6-1 or 7-1, but 6-1.
Mm-hmm.
They played 7. Yeah, so this guy is a godsend. He's God love him, watch him play, and man, he makes it look so easy with very little pump back action and the toss that he can let go of with just this. Amazing. I mean, we're all getting amazed by him. I think everybody in the Canadian Football League is talking about him. Everybody in the Canadian Football League is also thinking about that shoe. Will it drop? He's so good. When will he leave? And I know you said that he's signed a 3-year contract, but I don't think, as does happen in the Canadian Football League, teams do not stand in the way of players getting an opportunity to play in the NFL. And I think that if he goes to the NFL, it'll be within 2 years. He won't play that third year. If he plays well this year and next year, well, he already has 1 year burned on his contract anyway. This is his second year. So, I mean, I'm also, there's a tiny little bit of me that's going, I wonder what he'll look like in the NFL. What will he look like in the NFL? The Canadian in me's going, wouldn't that be nice to see him win a Super Bowl as a quarterback? But I hope he wins a Grey Cup first. Okay, my Argo friends, I'm sorry, I apologize. But I really do hope this kid wins a Grey Cup before he goes, if he goes. I really do. I'd like to see it for BC's sake. I love the city of BC, the city of Vancouver, which BC is the home of. I just like this kid so much, and I like his sacrifice, and I love his ability, and honestly, I love the story. A Canadian kid, born, he lived in Oakville. He knows the Toronto area. I just love to see the success that he's having. Like I said at the beginning of the show, why do I love the Canadian Football League? The same reason I love him. He's Canadian. Sorry, I'm biased.
Can't blame you for that. At least for today, we can.
Yeah, yeah. You know, it's great to see him do that. Let's talk about some football games here in the second half of the show. It's 10 o'clock. We can talk about the games. Winnipeg and Montreal was a game that Winnipeg won 35-20. The score, I would suggest, was kind to Montreal. I don't know how you feel about it.
Oh, it was. Yeah, it felt like that. It did in a way because for the first half, it was neck and neck. They were very competitive. Second half, especially the fourth quarter,
Oh,
Winnipeg took it to another gear that Montreal just could not go to. Like, I hate to say it, but Trevor Harris, he didn't look good in that second half. They needed Trevor Harris to elevate himself, and it did not look good for him.
both quarterbacks had trouble in ball control, ball protection. Harris, 2 interceptions, Collaros 3. So defensively, Montreal was outstanding, but offensively, they couldn't keep up.
No, their offensive game plan was Eugene Lewis, a little more Eugene Lewis,
And
which
a little more Eugene Lewis.
15 targets. He had
Yep.
9 catches for 123 yards. The problem is Winnipeg knew that's where they were going, so they were going to let him they weren't going to let him burn them. He made some incredible catches in this game, but again, the drop off from Eugene Lewis and their next receiver, Reggie White Jr., 33 yards on 2 catches. That's not good enough. That simply is not going to be good enough. If you're gonna put all your eggs in one basket, you're gonna live and die with that. You look at it on the other side for Winnipeg, like Drew Wolodarski,
Mhm.
good game for him, but
Sure.
a guy that I think is going a bit under the radar, and I actually read a story from Sportsnet, from my Sportsnet colleague Mike Kareen, wrote about Dalton Schoen. He leads this. I think he is leading the CFL right now in touchdowns by a receiver, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. He has 6. I
Oh,
think he
sorry.
had 6 in that
He
game.
was at one point. That was until Dominic Rhymes had 3 in one.
Oh yeah. Okay.
He was leading. He has 7. Dominic Rhymes has 8. Like that's just that's Winnipeg finding a diamond in the rough. You know, he came from Kansas State, not a very well-known school, and he's averaging 17.3 yards per catch this season, 641 yards, and 7 touchdowns. For a rookie, that's pretty good. And I think that's why Winnipeg again has been able to remain where they are, because they lose Darvin Adams. That's okay. Here's Dalton Schoen. Like, really? Like that's once again Kyle Walters.
You can say the same thing about them losing Andrew Harris, and all of a sudden Brady Oliveira shows us what he can do.
But it's still not the same, in my opinion.
Well, he's much younger than Andrew Harris.
This game was his best game of the season by far.
Absolutely. They used him every way possible. Short pass, run, block. He did it all.
But he, like, the last 2 games, he has started to pick it up. There was some question marks about him for a good chunk of the season. Considering they weren't just giving him, single digit carries. They're committed to giving him double digit carries.
They were feeding him.
They've been feeding him. The last 2 games have been his best game, not just average yards, but production as well.
Yes. And he got a touchdown, I think, didn't he? Yeah, he did.
He did get a touchdown. So, like, if Brady Oliveira is all of a sudden starting to get himself into that, into the groove that he needs to get into. And look, I don't blame him, right? This is his first, well, technically his second full season, because last year he played a lot with Andrew
Yeah,
Harris,
well, Harris was hurt, right?
right? So he's still young. He's 24. He's 24, right? So he hasn't even reached his peak yet as an athlete, in my opinion, especially as a running back. So I'm not convinced that he is like that. No, oh, Winnipeg did the great job of letting go Andrew Harris. I think if they had the choice, they would have kept Andrew Harris. But slowly but surely, if Brody Oliveira is showing that he's ready to take that next step and be a consistent
I
producer,
think he is.
the greatest offensive line in the CFL, in my opinion. I don't think there's a CFL team that has. Calgary had a pretty good offensive line, but it's been banged up. But I think Winnipeg has the best offensive line, and a lot of running backs can do a lot of damage in that circumstance.
Yeah, and if you have a decent system, I mean, you know, it, the kid's really good, and he earned the starter's role. You know, it comes down to again the cap. You know, you pay an Andrew Harris or you pay a Brady Oliveira and live with his upside and not worry about the money that you can't afford to pay him, and then you take some of that money that you're not paying Brady Oliveira to get pay for a decent offensive lineman that is part of your great offensive line, right? So you know, it's all money is you know, it's monopoly, baby. That's what football's all about. That's what sports is all about. It's what you do with the money that you're given to use. You all get the same amount of money to play with, and you have to make decisions about you know who plays so well they play off your lineup. They play so well you can't afford to pay them. This is the unfortunate problem with the Canadian Football League that makes it hard to sell tickets. I've said this before, I'll say it again. You can't have continuity with players that easily in the Canadian Football League. And fans love continuity. They love buying a jersey and they love cheering for that particular player that they're whose jersey they are wearing. You know, and it's hard nowadays for that to happen in the Canadian Football League. It's a challenge every team has.
Yeah,
But this kid
it's
is going to
definitely.
be good.
I think CFL teams, because of the limited budget they have, and no other league right now do you have to have a mandatory number of Canadians playing every week. That is a tough job for any front office to figure it all out.
A lot of stuff going on, a lot of different levers you can and cannot pull depending on the lever that you pulled before that. You know, you almost need three hands, you know, cap, Canadian, American. Which way do we go? Yeah, I admire that. You know, that's why to be a general manager in the Canadian Football League, to be in upper management in the Canadian Football League, there really is a learning curve you got to get on and you got to go over. And you know, you got to do the curve. You have no choice. You can't run a team without actual experience running a Canadian Football League team. Um, so that they win the game and you know Winnipeg, no surprise that they won. You know, it's getting to the point that the rest of the teams in the Canadian Football League are all going okay. So we could at least make sure they lose one game this year, right? Win it in the Grey Cup, you know, and the way the East is, it could be any team in the league could get that chance to beat the Winnipeg Blue Bombers just once when I think it's the easiest to do it, and that is the Grey Cup game. You know, I've seen many a giant fall in the Grey Cup game, and it is not rare. It's almost normal to see something like that happen, and we may have to wait till then. Sorry, Winnipeg fans, I'm just making a point. That may be the first time they lose a game the way they're going right now.
Here's the thing: people are marveling. Look, 9-0. You can marvel at that. You can. How many of these games have been very close? They beat Ottawa, a really terrible Ottawa team, for what it looks like, by only 2 points in the first week of the season.
They didn't deserve to beat the Argos.
They only beat the Argos by 1 point.
Yes, and that's because the Argos didn't kick a
Away
corner.
from that game going to overtime, potentially losing. They had 2 games against the St. Peters where
Oh yeah,
a, a, a dropped touchdown.
Yep. Again, missing overtime.
Like the only teams that they've handedly beat this season were that one game against the Lions, which I think was the game where Nathan Rourke didn't have his best.
And Hamilton, didn't they beat Hamilton too?
They beat Hamilton by 14 by 2 touchdowns. So yeah, anything by more than 2 touchdowns, that's what I consider a dominant performance. Like they did that against the Elks a few weeks ago, but they're not blowing teams away. Like the Montreal game just got away from Montreal late. But look, I think I don't think they're going to go perfect. I do think a team will beat them. I think there's a good chance that it could be Calgary. Calgary's been knocking on the door a few times. It's not going to be Montreal. Sorry to say this, Montreal. It's not going to be Montreal. I think Calgary has the best chance. Maybe if the Rough Riders get their act together, but I think it's either the Stampeders. If they don't manage, and if they manage to continue this going, then they got 2 games against the Lions to end the season, home and home.
That's going to be interesting. I like that. That's a great. Whoever made the schedule.
That's a good way to make the schedule because that could be for first in the West Division.
It could very well be, especially because it's 2 games,
home and home against when it's against teams that you are chasing in the standing. Look, as good as 9-0 is, the Lions are 6-1. Winnipeg's going to have some buys, and it's going to even out. In my opinion, it's going to even out a little bit. And I think BC's defense remains underrated.
Absolutely.
I think that they can be a team that you got to watch out for.
And the experience that the BC quarterback will be acquiring until then. So it'll be interesting. We look forward to that. Speaking of Calgary, they beat Ottawa 17-3.
Like it's
Zoli. After what they did to Toronto, they just couldn't do it to Calgary. Calgary was forewarned, forearmed, and they literally forearmed Ottawa in that game. It was a home game for Ottawa, but Calgary went in there and just kicked some butt.
Here's one thing about Toronto. That game against Ottawa, Toronto beat themselves in a lot of ways, and just Ottawa knew they smelled blood and they took advantage, and Toronto just didn't have it. Calgary's not going to beat themselves. No. Not very often do they do that. So you have to take advantage. But I'm sorry. How did that Ottawa team win against Toronto? Like that. Like if
All right, stop it already. It's okay. You'll get over it. It was just a football game.
I'm not personally involved, but I think what Calgary did was, all right, Caleb Evans.
Listen, if you want to talk about that game, it was all Caleb Evans and his ability to elude the defense, and McLeod Bethel Thompson couldn't elude the defense, and that was the difference in the game. You had a quarterback that had a good game, great game, and a quarterback who didn't have such a great game, who told us at the end of the game that, for want of another term, I'll just say he dropped the ball, and he admitted it.
Yeah. I know.
But Ottawa went into Calgary, against Calgary. They were at home. And they went in knowing that they could beat a good team. They just weren't able to get on track with Calgary. Their experience and the coaching that they have, I think we don't talk about this often enough. I happen to think that they have the best coaching staff in the Canadian Football League as a group. The best head coach is in Winnipeg.
Yeah, and here's one thing I'll say. Calgary went into this game without their best offensive player in Kadeem Carey.
Absolutely.
Went without their head coach, right, as you mentioned. Dedrick Mills had 100 yards rushing. That's
who,
in my opinion, a well-coached team because a well-coached team can plug and play guys. You're missing your top running back. That's okay. We got somebody that can step in for us.
We got guys that can make the holes.
And look, Bo Levi Mitchell did not have a great game.
Heck no.
He was very.
Sounds just an interception.
In my opinion, he hasn't been having a great season.
This is what happened to Calgary last year. He started having a good season. He looked okay at the beginning, but the Calgary team has won in spite of Bo Levi Mitchell. And that's what's happened. He's a great quarterback. He has a wonderful history, but we're seeing another great quarterback in the Canadian Football League looking for his previous self.
Yeah, I know. And in my opinion, if Calgary had a better quarterback.
You mean like an Arbuckle?
No, I don't even think Arbuckle's that good.
You've been too close to him. That's the problem.
No, but the thing is like, and those who I know that have seen him firsthand have said he's okay. As we're seeing, he's fine, but he's not that starter caliber quarterback. Like, to be a starting quarterback in the CFL, there's got a few things you got to do right. You can't be making mistakes by throwing interceptions, especially timely interceptions. You need to be able to show an ability to extend plays, to give your receivers a chance to get open. And, once in a while, you're going to have to be able to. Oh, you want to add one?
No, I'm listening. I'm being very attentive.
Look, there's a reason why Bo Levi Mitchell's still a starting quarterback in the CFL. He's not playing very well, but he's not losing games for his team.
And accuracy, consistency.
He hasn't really been that accurate, though. That's the thing.
That's what's lacking.
That's
what, if there's one thing that Nathan Rourke has established, if you pass accurately more often than not, you can win a football game. There's a lot of balls that go in the dirt, go into the crowd, go in past the end zone, go into over the sideline. We see those every day, but not from him. And that's the greatness that he has, to me, is that his efficiency, his quarterback rating, his touchdown to interception ratio, all those old numbers that are obvious, that if a quarterback excels in those ways, he's a great quarterback and they win football games. So, I look here, and Bo Levi Mitchell did not throw a touchdown, threw an interception. I look at Nick Arbuckle. He threw 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. Caleb Evans threw an interception. So 3 interceptions for the Ottawa quarterbacks, no touchdowns. Running in, I get it. They do that a lot nowadays. But still, a quarterback can throw a touchdown from 25 yards out. Running in for a touchdown for one that, you can do that from the 2-yard line, and not very often from the 10 or the 15. So, it's got to happen. Quarterbacks have to throw touchdowns. There were 5 thrown. Again, I'm going to get nauseating when it comes to Nathan Rourke. He threw 5 touchdowns in a half and made his team a winner. So that's what I've said it before, and sadly the truth is we might have starters in the Canadian Football League, but we lack the stars. Nathan Rourke shows us, as does Zach Collaros, shows us what a star quarterback looks like. We have quarterbacks in the league that could be stars. Bo Levi Mitchell, Trevor Harris. These are guys that they could be, but they just haven't been recently, right? And I wish they were, because that's what makes the Canadian Football League the league that everybody cares about. It's the scoring, it's the passing, it's the great receptions, all that stuff. And in this game, we didn't see enough of that. But what we did see was a well-coached team beat a team that's well-coached as well. I'm not as hard on La Police as other people are. I think he's a great coach. I think he's a good coach. But he's got to get the players. He's got to have a quarterback that's consistent. They were hoping Mazzoli was that guy. He's gone. 10, 12 games out for the season. He'll be back maybe with 3-4 games left. They can sneak into the playoffs. Mazzoli could work some magic. But not right now. He's not there. Caleb Evans is going to be hot and cold. We saw him hot in Toronto. We saw him a wee bit cold against Calgary.
Yeah. No, and that's something I think if Calgary, if they start to fall off a little bit, that's going to be the storyline. Right now it isn't because they're winning. Winning cures a lot. It cures almost everything. And it also takes a lot of the pressure off those that need the pressure taken off.
Let's talk about Edmonton, BC. We talked about how great Nathan York was. He was incredible. He was fantastic. We talked mostly about the game. His receivers, you mentioned one that got 3 receptions. We saw Edmonton. We saw the head coach. Jones does not look happy, but he's got to give these guys enough time. The only thing I'm going to say about this game is he's got to give his players enough time to gel.
Yeah, no. This is just another one of those. Edmonton, again, Darrell Walker, great receiver. He's proven that time and time again. Unfortunately, Edmonton doesn't have a quarterback. Edmonton needs a lot of things right now. They're a team that's trying to retool. And look, I expected a year like this out of Edmonton. It's tough. It's tough because, this is a team that, when you get a guy like Chris Jones, you're expecting good things. And it's very hard to be patient in the CFL, especially when your team went through an even tougher year last year where they only had 3 wins. And can they get the 3 wins this year? I think they can. They're at 2 right now. 3. I think if they get 4 or 5 wins, that's a win for that team. That's in my opinion, that's a good season because in a way you've kind of improved on last year. But I think right now what's important for the Elks is the process that they're going through rather than the results. The results will come, but you got to give them time, right? And a game like, look, BC has had Edmonton's number. If I'm Edmonton, you never want to forfeit a game, but it's just like, do we have to play these guys again? Can we just not? Like, I actually don't know if they're done playing BC this season. I'm gonna check that quickly because both games have been absolutely. Oh, they have one more to end the season, so that will be the mercy ending on the season. But they just have to stick with it. They just have to trust the process, because if you try to decide to change the process, that's where you run into trouble.
Yeah, they're going to have to find the process too, not just they're going to have to find it too. All right. All right, we talked about the Argo game a little bit. Now we can talk about it completely. We'll start, Eduardo, if you could throw in the head coach, Dinwiddie, at the postgame. He told us what he saw and answered some questions.
And it was huge blocking in for us to have awareness to go get the ball, score. So I think we probably about 6 guys that probably could have scored on that play.
Now, it came at a time too when you missed the field goal, and that could have been a bit of a turning point in the ball game too.
Yeah, no doubt. I just felt like our guys battled and stuck together. That was the whole coaching point all week was like, guys, let's stick together. Don't have any BS penalties. When things aren't going our way, we got to stick together. The defense, picked us up the first half, and then offense got going a little bit late. Execution wasn't the best. I guess we got high standards. We got to play better on offense, especially in the first quarter.
The offense, we talked about the turning point. I mean, the home network here is the Toronto Sports Network. So now the turning point of the game, from my perspective, is when McLeod avoided getting sacked. That play, every play after that seemed to work for you guys.
Yeah, no doubt. And we thought it was a bootleg type of deal, misdirection. We felt good about it. We've had it up for a few weeks. Haven't been on the right hash to call it the right hash only play. That was a big play from him. Big play from Mac. I mean, he's not the most athletic guy, but that was an athletic play.
Well, speed is deceptive, right?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we had the one zone read, and he pulled in. They got our guy behind the line of scrimmage, and he just ran forward for 8 yards. So it wasn't a good play, but we found a way to make it work.
Ryan, Andrew Harris left the game right at the end, holding his wrist. Is he okay?
Yeah, he's gonna be okay. It calmed down quite a bit after that, so it was more of a stinger deal for him. So it shot up his elbow, so he'll be fine.
Coach, you scored 64 points in the fourth quarter now, which is great. You're finishing great, but as you're moving along, obviously you're going to want to start spreading that offense out, so you're not needing to score 64 points in the fourth quarter.
No question. I mean, we got to start faster. We all know that, and got to go look at what we're doing schematically again. But the nice part is, we make our halftime adjustments and we play well at the end. But we just got to play better in the first half.
Coach, the second half was a completely different game. What was your message to the team in the locker room?
Well, just we got to go take this game. You got to go take it. I felt like we weren't out of reach. Defense kept us in it. We felt like second half we could come back and win that football game. So I'm just proud of those guys, man. They found a way to stick together, and that's the main point. And defense, carried us and made some big plays for us down the stretch.
Ryan, you had Jake there not on the field for some field goals. Something happened with the elbow?
Yeah, so he was trying to snap, he couldn't snap, so he's got an injury. I haven't found out exactly what it was. I know he was trying to. And then we had Calvert was our other snapper, and Hoyt was a long snapper for punts, and then he takes the dumb penalty and gets kicked out of the game. So now we got Hoyt doing field goals, who hasn't done that before. So, we still got a little discipline we got to clean up, but for the most part, I thought we stuck together.
Yeah, the discipline's important because the league now is really the league's telling the referees to crack down and not give any excuses, if you will, or even warnings for that matter.
Yeah, and they shouldn't have to warn the guys. We got to be better at that. And he said, the guy did something dirty to him, which I get, but I don't care what he does dirty to you. You can't respond that way. So, it was offsetting calls, but then at the same time, he's kicked out of the game. So, we got to clean that up.
Ryan, what carries over to Friday? To game 2?
Yeah, we'll see. I normally do a new game plan. We'll have some stuff that we didn't call. We'll keep what we like. They were playing some different coverages on the back end. I thought they did a great job, keeping us. We didn't know what was coming next. So, we'll look at it, and then I'll have to go, review maybe some old call sheets against some, what we had last year. See if some of that stuff, holds true that the plays we feel like can be successful.
I mean, you play a team 4 times in the next 5 weeks. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, it's different, right? And it's it's a big month for both clubs, right? Then you got Calvary mixed in, who's a darn good football club. So it's a big month for us. So it started with this one. We had to get this one. We got it done, and then next week we got to get it done again, right? We can't just feel like we're going to walk into their stadium and get it done, right? It's a tough place to play. The fans are going to be rowdy like they always are. I mean, great environment. So, started with this one. We found a way to get it done, and the first half wasn't exactly what we wanted. We could have folded our tent and said, "Oh, here we go again." No, they battled. They stuck together. We're proud of those guys.
Okay, that's Coach Dinwiddie. I guess to review, he knows his team needs to do better as far as execution. Okay, Harris is okay. The talk about 64 points in the fourth quarter that they've had this year, they've been a very good team like that. I guess that's because they haven't started on time enough. Their second half has always been better than their first, it seems. Their backup long snapper got kicked out of the game because of a dumb penalty, and they're looking for forward to game 2. Okay, you want to expand on what the coach said?
I think the coach, it's funny because, the tone is different from previous week, right?
Absolutely.
But I feel like this team could have gone into a very similar, had similar issues from the week before. They just found ways to get around it. But I think he recognizes the problems, but now it's one thing to recognize it. Can he find the solutions? And that'll be the thing to watch.
Well, last week we heard that the solution probably was finding out who wants to still be an Argo, but we didn't see anything overtly as far as getting rid of players. The threat didn't follow through.
Well, that was made during an emotional time. That's why decisions are made up here and not down here. Right? You use your brain to make these decisions. And I think after taking some time to cool down, reflect, I'm sure they would love to move off some guys who have been very undisciplined. Like uh, the their backup long snapper who ended up getting let go, kicked out of the game. I noticed he was getting into it with a few Tiger Cats guys on punt returns, on kickoff returns, and I said, "This is not good. You're letting your emotions get the better of you."
Well, especially when he is a crucial backup player. I mean, long snappers are. I've seen long snappers start a season and never do a snap for 2 years. I've seen long snappers work on their craft for 2 years before they even get to do one, and while the game's going on, a live action. So there's a lot of trust that needs to be developed and had. And what we saw in the past couple of games, we've seen some snaps that were questionable at best. And as it turns out, it maybe because their snapper was injured and didn't want to say so. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, and Jake had if you saw that elbow injury he suffered.
Yes.
If you saw the scars, he showed me the scars. He works his butt off. He is, in my opinion, I think he's probably the best in shape Argos player.
He's one of the longest serving Argos too.
He'd be in the best shape, really. He just has to snap the ball, but he also is the one that's going down there making tackles. He's not just snapping the ball. There's a lot of long snappers definitely, as you mentioned, don't really get their due. And it's a skill
Very
that
specialized.
you can build a nice career off of just being able to do that one thing. Because guess what? When the field goal that Boris Beatty missed,
that wasn't on him.
It was not. There was two reasons why. Well, one, the snap wasn't done right. Good on Josh Haggerty, the punter, to get the punt down, to get the ball down in a position. But yeah, you can get the ball down, but kicking is about timing.
Yep.
Right? You go through a cadence. And if that gets disrupted by a bad snap, now once in a while you're gonna have a bad snap and you're gonna have to figure out there's ways to do it. But in a game situation, very tough to overcome that. But at least the Argos got a single point out of it.
Absolutely.
The worst thing that could have happened was they don't get the ball down and they turn the ball over.
Okay, let's move on to the next interview, and we have the quarterback, McLeod Bethel Thompson, and here's what he had to say in the postgame.
We'll give Eduardo a minute to find McLeod.
A wonderful thing to watch tonight. I think it was going for a while. I just caught it.
Yeah, my camera stopped, and he said it's good for him. Tell him.
Has shown that they really are inconsistent. I don't know if there's been any heart attacks that happen on the sidelines, but I know in the crowd, the crowd really came together with you when you made it. The team started coming together. How important is it that you both the symbiosis between crowd and team?
It's huge. It's huge. Our fan base is hard on us. They don't. They definitely don't take it easy. They don't pull any punches for sure. So, but they expect greatness. This is the oldest organization in North America, so maybe that's just expecting them, the highest. And I'm the same way. I expect greatness, and I don't want to play to be good. I want to play to be great. So I know the plays that I have to get better at. I hope they're working just as hard to be their best selves as fans, to be their best selves as people. So we can all pull together. It's our motto. I hope they're feeling that and they're getting on board. Be hard on us, expect greatness, but then cheer your butt off too.
So, Cloud, as fans, we are season ticket
Yeah, love it.
We're in the front row.
Love it.
45-yard line. We went through that first half, and
Yeah.
we were just saying to each other, "Thank God the score is just the way it
Yeah,
is
for
right
sure.
now." But we knew you could come back, and I could tell
Yeah.
you when you scrambled.
Yeah.
And that was a big turning point from the fans' perspective.
Yeah.
Did you feel that energy from the fans?
Yeah, every time, BMO maybe doesn't have the fullest stadium, but when you guys yell, it really makes a difference. So, like I said, you guys are a hard fan base. You guys are you don't pull any punches, but when you guys do yell, it makes a huge difference. 15,000 fans in that stadium can sound like 20 or 30 when you guys are yelling. So I encourage you guys to keep doing that, and it helps a bunch. It really does. Be positive. We're trying our best to be positive, and we ask that of you guys as well. Thank you so much.
You were saying that special teams was playing 10-ball games, so I guess you're not surprised to see them deliver the big plays.
That's what you could feel it. I don't know if speaking as a fan in the front row, you could feel it. You could feel the force coming down on kicks, man. You could feel that guys were flying around, guys were taking their shots and shooting their gun, and that's intimidating for the other team. And you could feel that kind of momentum shot, as in a boxing analogy. Those are body shots, and then that was a big knockout right there. So they were awesome. They were awesome, and Mick really led the crew. He's a great coach. He's been rallying them all year, and this is kind of the culmination of what he's been envisioning and seeing. So it was good to see it come together.
Not only you talk about home, you're talking about home.
It's not great. I'll say that. I don't want to say anything, but I don't know who played in the schedule. It's not great for football. It's going to be a war every single time. We're going to be so sick of playing each other by 3 and 4. But right now, it's just one at a time. It's just another opponent. This 5 days away. We play them on Friday, so it's a quick turnaround. So it's basically just starting up a fifth quarter. And then we run it back again. So it's going to be a chess match. How much do we change? How much do they change? They got us in a couple blitz earlier. I know we're going to see those again for sure. And then it's a chess match as we go forward. So it's going to be a physical game. They have championship DNA over there. They're going to bring it, and it's in their house. So we got to get our bodies right and prepare for war again. Yeah, I mean, you can see what we didn't do last week. We kind of fell behind. We weren't expecting to be in that situation versus Ottawa, and they're a good team. We knew that, and we kind of I think we let go of the rope a little bit last week. We were in that game. We could have easily fought back and won that game as well. And we fixed our mistakes this week. We could easily let go of the rope there at halftime. God, here we go again. Or offense isn't moving ball, and we all just pulled together, man. We sacked up. We did it as a unit. I'm going to use pull together about 50,000 times in this interview. But yeah, it really was a great team win. You can feel that brotherhood coming together. You can feel that locker room coming together when we do that. When everyone's pulling the rope, guys pull harder. If you're pulling and you feel like some guy next to you is not pulling as hard, it's hard to push to your max, right? But everyone tonight was pulling, and you could feel that. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. We've got to find a way to get him in the end zone for sure, just to get his his confidence up and going, and we got a couple more in the bag too. So it was great to see it, and great to come together. Like you said, hopefully you're not telling anybody else about those plays, but yeah, we've been working on it. We're glad it came together in that moment, and it was a great call by coach, and yeah, it was just awesome to see that kind of cap it. Sometimes when you score a touchdown, and you don't get to 2 point, it loses a little momentum, but we kept that thing going and kind of fed on into the defense.
Okay, that's McLeod Bethel Thompson. All I'm going to say about that is he clearly hears what the fans are saying. If you listen to that interview at all, he was talking about the fans are hard on the team. He wasn't being critical about the fans being hard on, but he was establishing very clearly that he knows that he's, the fans aren't 100% happy with him, and you saw his reaction to the way the fans are talking about him, you may not think he hears you folks, but he does, and this is how he reacted.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think he got the best reception when he was announced as the starting quarterback.
That's what we're talking about. I mean, he knows, and just imagine you're going to work and the people that you work for are not making you feel like they want you to work for them. So what he does accomplish is amazing. If you put it in that context, folks, if you look at it from the perspective of this guy has not had the major success that everybody wants him to have, especially the people who support the double blue, the guy has been kicking around football, and football's kicked him around quite a bit. He has not been a give up guy. He's been a womp to guy. And his womp to is why he's the starting quarterback for the Canadian Football League. Toronto Argonauts.
Yeah. Also, the final question that he talked about was my question, where I was asking about the play in the end zone. Just make that clear. I do not share Argo's plays with anybody else. We're not allowed to film them, so I'm not giving away. First off, if I gave away any secrets, that play would not have worked. So don't worry about if I'm giving away any secrets.
Yeah, and our next interview is going to be McManus, the defender. Has played consistently well. He's been awesome. David missed him when he wasn't playing. He says, if he comes back, the Argos can be pretty good. And that was when he came back. That's when they beat Saskatchewan once and then a second time. Okay, Eduardo, give us the McManus postgame.
Couple first two stackers. Go ahead.
How big is it for a team to get off that really turns around?
It does. That's one of those game-changing plays that, you just can't help the momentum swing and, what it does for your team. And, if you just look at the statistics behind it, I think your chances of winning go up by at least 40%. So, just having that, man, is great. And, it was big. We needed it at the right time.
The defense did a great job of keeping the game within reach for the big play. I'm wondering if you guys, the unit takes any solace in that. You kept the game close, and then you cemented it with Chris's interception at the end.
That's what we do. We pride ourselves on going out each and every snap, each and every time we step on the field. We make sure that we take it, we take pride in it, we take pride in our job. Firefighters can't get tired of, saving lives. So, this is our job. We can't get tired of going out on the field. No matter how many times we're out there, it's our job to stop, go 2 and out, or whatever, and get the ball back for our offense. So, we don't get tired of it. That's what we do.
And I'm wondering if I may, you guys play the same team back-to-back for the next 5 weeks. What do you guys do for an encore in 5 weeks?
Step on the field, strap it up, line it up, do it again.
When the defense, the whole team didn't play well in the first half, for the most part, the first half.
Including me.
What happened at halftime, and what do you as a defense have to do to get yourself righted? Because you guys weren't, it seemed like they were just bleeding right through your defense.
Yeah, like I said, it's a very emotional game. It's a high-intensity game, and I just feel like, we were kind of tight in the first half. Everybody wants to, make the right play. Everybody wants to be so intense and stuff like that. And, I just feel like we don't play our best ball when we're that way. So, I feel like we did a good job in the second half of loosening it up, having more energy, just having fun with the game instead of just making it more than what it is. Just have fun with it. And I feel like that's what we did in the second half. And you could just see how the play started to fall.
How important was it when McLeod, while you guys were on the sidelines, when McLeod made that elusive play, made that big play?
Yeah.
It seemed like your team kept, after that moment, you kept doing things right. And things kept working for you right after
You feed
that.
off of that. Anytime your quarterback makes a big play, especially with his feet, because, that's not what we ask of you. So anytime you've done that, that's doing extra, that's doing more than what your job, entails. So it just gets us hyped, man, and you love it. It's a momentum booster. We love to see Mac take off, be smart, get down, don't take too many hits. But, we love to see him make plays for us and, put his body on the line for the team.
We talked to Coach about this a little bit about discipline, but this is unique Going back 55 years following this game, I never remember you guys playing 4 games in 5 after the same team. There's a chance they're building up a real hate over 4 games together, pounding on each other. How do you keep your discipline? How do you make sure that you don't allow being mad at somebody in one game to carry on to the next game, and then you make the stupid error?
It's just a game. It's the next game, though it is it's a division game, and you can make it a bigger game. You can make it more than what it is. So, like I said, you can strap it up and line it up and do it again. And it's gonna be there. It's gonna be intense. It's gonna be heavy because you're seeing the same opponent. And that's what being a professional is, though. You got to take each game. You got to pull yourself back some, pull back on the range just a little bit, just enough to where you're not clouding your mind on what your job is and what it is we're trying to get done here. And that's win football games.
We're good? Perfect. Thank you.
There's a lot of emotion being played in the Canadian Football League this year. A lot of it. There's it's not just an individual guy losing his temper and minor little arguments. It's happening a lot. Even in the NFL now, where it's starting. Why do you think football does it have something to do with you finally back to playing the game and like you guys are all trying to make that time a lot?
Yeah, I feel like the gameplay, the level of gameplay is increased. And with that only, brings more intense games, more battles, more high-powered offenses, more, tougher flying around defenses and things like that. I feel like the level of play has increased on both sides of the ball. And I just feel like that's the reason why, you see so much, people put so much out there because we do work so hard in the off season. We do put our time into this, and this is our job. This is, it's what we do. Because I feel like with that comes that emotion. And with that comes that fight, that want to do your job so bad and so good that it hurts. If you don't do that or, somebody gets the best of you, it hurts. So that's what it is. I feel like, just people need to understand that it's really all, just want to. Anytime somebody, you feel like they're losing their head or losing their cool, that's their love for the game. That's their passion. Sometimes it can get the best of you. It can be, it can be the same thing. It could be a downfall, but man, it's needed in the game, honestly.
You're glad you got over that minute.
I'm glad we got over it, but man, hey, let's do it. We got the dub, man.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Wynton McManus, you love this guy, and I've grown to love him a lot, the way he plays and his attitude. What you see there in the post game is how he plays, 100%.
Yeah, that signing was a very underrated signing by the Argos because linebacker was a position of strength for them going into the season. No, they had Enoch Mwamba. Chris Edwards, his suspension put a bit of a downer on that, but this season he is 4th in the CFL in tackles. So he's got that's through 7 games. So the other guys above him actually played an extra game. He's got 2 sacks. He's got the interception for the touchdown that won them the touchdown Atlantic game. Like this is a guy that the Argos could really, when that linebacker core, when that defense is on, they can be a top defense in this league. They're not.
He made Cameron Judge expendable so that they could get Mechie back.
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing, right? Because it took away a little bit of flexibility. They had Judge and Mwamba in the middle there, so that getting 2 Canadians there, and obviously bringing Wynn meant they need to find a solution on defense. But yeah, Mechie was a need because their secondary didn't have the Canadian talent that it needed. So I think that's a big, definitely a big pickup for the team that's worked out quite well, and not just his play, but you can see the leadership is there. They got a lot of leaders on that defense, and he's right in the middle.
Okay, let's listen to what Phillips had to say. Eduardo, pump in the last interview.
Cam, things are really starting to work out for you. You're starting to get the kind of passes, you're getting a grip on the ball.
Mm-hmm.
What does it feel like to make this kind of progress?
It's reassuring, just for this to be my first season playing up here, to just get the hang of it and, the quarterback and the other receivers make it easy for me, just believing in me. So just for me to be in this position, I'm really thankful for that.
Do you feel emotion and to your advantage?
Excuse me?
Did you feel the motion is to your advantage?
Of course, I would definitely have to say so. I think what are we 4-3? It's my 8th game, but it's like things are starting to slow down for me. Um, just hitting it hard every day at practice. Against the best defense in the league. It's definitely going to make anybody better. So, we just trying to catch our stride. Me for sure, I'm trying to catch my stride and really just do my job so I can help my team.
Cam, as fans in the stand, which we are, as season ticket holders, when McLeod scrambled, that made us all feel a lot better. The energy, I don't know if you guys felt it on the field, but the energy in the stand was huge. And how did that make you guys feel?
I mean, you could feel it as you saw. I mean, I always just try to get everybody in after a touchdown, but the linemen, were feeling good, smiling. Even though we were losing and we didn't, the first half was the first half. It's like, long as we control us, we're good. But it does help whenever the fans, come out and support us the way that you did, because we definitely felt that. And what was it, 17-6 at one point, and then we finished off 28-3. So it's like, that's what it's about.
Cam, on that touchdown, it's been made a big thing about you guys struggling to get production in the red zone. How important was that just for you? Was that play a design? You have to do a little improvisation.
Yeah. That was definitely a little improv. Mac made a great play, escaping the pressure on that. And I just happened to see him and broke it off and found space, and then he hit me for a huge play. I think that really sort of catapulted us, to the second half that we did have. So, we can continue to find that magic, however, in whatever form, it is, passing, running, special teams, defense. It's like, when one win, then we all win. So that's the most important thing for us.
The play before that, you made a big catch and a big game there to set you guys up for that touchdown. Do you feel like that's kind of your role now to just provide those big plays and big energy moments?
You can say that. It's a role I've sort of embraced, being, the high energy guy. And it's like, Curly's younger than me, actually, but as far as experience on the field, I'm the guy with the least amount of experience. So, I just take my role as just trying to be energetic, trying to keep us up. So, if I got to provide those plays, then I'm ready for it, if that's what the team needs.
You guys have been a little bit slower as a team, especially kind of in the first half, and we kind of saw that today. And then as a team, you've scored over 60 points on the season, by far the most. Fourth quarter. What about those late game moments really kind of gets your team really fired up?
I mean, really, we just come together. I mean, as you see, like, we just start to feed off of each other. It so happened I made the play to create the energy. Other weeks it'll be special teams or defense, but it's like, as you see, like, in the first half, it's just us beating ourselves. I think whenever we can just play against one team instead of two, then I think the sky's the limit for us.
This nice young fan behind me asked me to ask you a question.
Okay.
How important is it to have confidence in what you do?
I would have to say it's the most important thing you can have. It's like, before you can believe in anything else, you got to believe in yourself, right? So it's like, you put in the preparation, and whatever it is, you studied a certain amount, you worked out a certain amount, or, you prayed a certain amount. So, I have to say confidence is the most important thing. What's your name? Kenzie. Nice to meet you, Cam. Thank you.
All right, the one he was referring to was 9-10-year-old Kenzie, was a fan that wanted to ask a question. I asked it for her. That was a lot of fun having her in there. She was so thrilled to see a young Argo fan that'll be an Argo fan forever because of the experience.
Yeah, definitely a great thing to be able to have a fan to be a part of that.
Absolutely. Well, David, thanks for doing this.
Anytime.
I was wondering how we would finish, but there it is. We did it. 2 hours. We survived. Thanks to David Morassutti, I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching CFL Talk, airing live Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For CFL Talk news, entertainment, and other sports programming we offer, please check out spanglishworld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Until next time.